Good evening guys, and welcome to another episode of Video Game News, the show that weekly brings you the latest and the freshest from the world of video gaming, at least to a certain extent. Now today we have a few stories and news to go over. When I say a few, I mean specifically 6. So without any further ado, strap yourselves in and let's go. Now it wasn't too long ago that Fallout 76 came out. And whatever your opinion is on the current state of the game, it looks like Bethesda is fully committed to making it good eventually, with a plan for a series of updates that will be released in the future and possibly for years to come. Now to be a bit more specific, quoting Bethesda, they said, "We want you to know that we're committed to rolling out fixes and features on a regular basis and implementing changes based on your feedback. We also continue to work on an incredible list of updates for the game, including new quests and events, new vaults opening, a faction-based PvP system, and much more. We're confident with your support, we can make Fallout 76 an incredible experience for years to come." Now the first of these updates is scheduled to be on December 4th, even though Bethesda has said that the timing might shift around slightly. And amongst the things that we should be seeing will be several small fixes, both to the loot system, to how your stash works, but also something that people might be excited for is the special skill respec, and essentially after level 50 you should be able to choose between either a new perk card or moving a special point that you had previously allocated to something else. On top of this, these updates should also provide a ton of bug fixes and in general quality of life improvements, which, let's be honest, the game is in a dire need of right now. On Reddit, Bethesda has even expressed a sort of an apology, saying, quote, "We know you're frustrated and angry at the state of things right now, whether it's the issues you're running into in the game or the lack of communication about fixes, updates, or news." So essentially, regardless of how poorly the game seems to be doing right now, Bethesda at least seems to be fully committed to pushing out updates, fixing the game, and making it a very enjoyable experience. So hey, for those of you who have already bought it, at least all hope is not lost yet. And now, loot boxes are a thing that are relatively new to gaming. I mean, they have been around for a while, but their prominence seems to have lately increased. Now the debate whether loot boxes should be considered gambling or not is an ongoing one and has been brought up and put back down several times. But now, it looks like things are moving once again into the debating stage, as the US Federal Trade Commission will apparently now be investigating loot boxes, as said by Chairman Joseph Simmons on Tuesday. Apparently, some people are willing to keep pushing this agenda to prevent the impacts this might have on the current generation and the future generation of children, and by extension anyone playing those games, such as for example Senator Maggie Hassan, who said, quoting, "Loot boxes are now endemic in the video game industry and are present in everything from casual smartphone games to the newest high-budget video game releases. Loot boxes will represent a $50 billion industry by the year 2022, according to the latest research estimates. Children may be particularly susceptible to engaging with these game purchases, which are often considered integral components of video games." So I guess regardless of what your current opinion on the loot box topic is, this issue will seemingly keep being brought up again and again until the government and the gaming communities can all come to an agreement on whether they should be allowed or whether they should be prohibited, at least to an extent. And next up, if you are a fan of the Alien games, this might be a good time for you, as there are some suggestions online right now in regards to what the next upcoming Alien game will be called. Now back in January, Foxnet Games announced that they were working on a quote new Alien shooter, and earlier this week the parent company of 20th Century Fox filled a trademark in for Alien Blackout. Now more specifically, that trademark was filled in for the use in game software, computer game and video game software, and very similar terminology, strongly hinting at the fact that Alien Blackout will indeed be the name of the next Alien game which is currently being developed. And next up, the Steam redesign that has been teased by Valve for years has now been kind of put on the back burner. I mean, no one really talks about it anymore. Last time it was brought up was somewhere around January, but now with an interesting tweet from SteamDB creator Pavel Jundik, the debate seems to have resurfaced again. In his tweet, Pavel says, Just remember that Valve's been working on a Steam redesign for years now. Here's a picture from a presentation in January. Now the presentation he's talking about back in January is something that Valve put together, gathering a bunch of game developers and giving a presentation on Steam and, well, apparently also its redesign. Now looking at the picture, we can see what appears to be the updated Steam page for Rainbow Six Siege, which now is a lot more visual with very small amounts of text and a seemingly optimized layout for all the buttons and all the menus. But of course, there is no real way to confirm this, and considering that both this has been discussed over multiple years, and Valve is also right now working on their first own game in several years in fact, I wouldn't necessarily expect this one too soon. So if you don't like the current Steam layout, you might have to wait a little longer for this updated version. And next up, some small interesting news from the world of Cyberpunk 2077 by CD Projekt Red. The developer stated in a Facebook conversation, which later was posted to Reddit, that the game will involve a surprising amount of verticality, especially when compared to something like The Witcher 3, which, according to their own words, will look much flatter and much emptier in comparison to what they're developing here. Now obviously they didn't go into great depth, simply stating that you can have a tall building that you would be able to explore with tons of activities. However, from what we're seeing so far, it looks like they're not only focusing on creating a world that is huge and beautiful, but also explorable and jam-packed with activities, which always sounds nice. And finally, just to end this video off, if you're interested in Red Dead Redemption Online, well, the beta kicked off just yesterday for the owners of Red Dead Redemption 2 Ultimate. So if you are one of them, you should most definitely go ahead and give it a try and then report to the rest of us in regards to how good the game is, because people's expectations have been high, and in general the game has performed very well on many fronts. So naturally, the player base is expecting them to carry that over into the online areas as well. But anyways, that is all I had to say in the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. And of course, there is always more happening in the video game world, so I just picked the news that I figured you guys would be the most interested in. If you liked the video, maybe consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. All of those would be very much appreciated. I want to be sure a little bit of rest of today, and I'm gonna see you in whatever next video I make. Bye bye.